So, welcome back to Happy Life, Better Life. This is part two of my series for women who are in their 40s and 50s who are going through divorce or separation and basically starting over. And let me please, I don't want to discriminate. For men, I believe there will be something here that you can get out of it as well. I'm primarily speaking to women just because I am a woman and I know what it's like to be on this side of that equation. But definitely, my heart also goes out for men who have experienced this as well, because I know a few, believe me, I do. I know a few men who were kind of blindsided by the end of a relationship that they had put a lot of time and effort into. So I don't want it to seem like I'm being biased at all. Basically, I'm just speaking from my own experience and sharing. And because, I know of other women like myself who were starting over, I'm just identifying this particular video with them. But please, I would love to hear from men who are experiencing this and who, if you have questions or comments, anything that I can help with, I would love to do that. So let me just slow down and getting started. If you are in this phase of your life, the first thing I want to do is give you hope. Give you hope. It's just as simple as that. For me, this transition took place about 8 years ago, and or at least the beginning of the transition. The beginning of the transition took place 8 years ago, and the reason why I say beginning because I have to be honest. I got married very young. I married when I was 19 years old, and I was separated initially in my 40's. And I was probably like in my mid to late 40's at the time. And so it was a whole new experience for me. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you all is that initially, starting over wasn't like this breath of fresh air. It was like my whole world came crashing down. That's what it felt like. It felt more like that. But for everything that I lost, one of the greatest things that I gained was peace of mind. Peace of mind. And, for most of us who have been in relationships, maybe towards the end, when things became really rocky and maybe you were arguing all the time, maybe there was the cold silence, you know, when that person comes in the room, you leave out the room, all those kinds of things that can transpire towards the end. Sometimes things are very amiable, and in other times it's the extreme opposite of that. So if your situation was amiable, if you two kind of agreed together, that you wanted to end the relationship and you wanted to move forward and onto your own path, then that's wonderful. But for most people, it's not as simple as that. So for me, one of the things that stood out was the peace of mind. I remember, well, basically in the last video, I said I went to go live with my aunt for a period of time. I lived with her for about a month, and then I was able to get my own place. And when I got my first place, um, I was very happy, very grateful, but I was also very much afraid in that, okay, if anything goes wrong here, it's all on you. That's what I told myself. It is all on you. Um, and I didn't want to fail. That was the biggest thing in my mind. Making sure that I could be self sufficient, making sure that if my children were with me, and my children were not small at that time. My youngest was in high school, and she was like in 11th or 12th grade at the time. So my children were not, really young, but they were, my oldest two were very young adults. And actually, my first place was a small one bedroom apartment. Well, actually, for a one bedroom apartment, it was pretty big. I had a large living room, and I had a decent sized bedroom, and I had a kitchen, and I had a backyard. So let me just say, I was pretty fortunate. I was pretty fortunate because my apartment was a really nice size for a one bedroom apartment. Eventually, my children came to live with me. But before I get into that, I want to say number one, make sure that you like, that you subscribe, comment, press the notification button, all that wonderful stuff, okay? So, when I first moved into my one bedroom apartment, the only thing that I had was an air mattress. It was an air mattress. Listen, the first main thing for me to do was get the apartment. Um, and I was working at that time, but it wasn't like seriously gainful employment kind of thing. Initially, I think I was working at that job like part time. I was doing maybe like 25 hours a week. Um, and I was also receiving unemployment from a job that I had worked for, a nonprofit that had closed down. So my first transition was, just getting into this apartment, um, getting a full time job kind of thing, and also um, transitioning there. But the very first thing, I remember the very first two things that I bought. One was the air mattress, the other was an iron. The iron and the ironing board, because I needed to be able to iron my clothes to go to work and look presentable. And even though I was going through it, I didn't want to look like I was going through it. So, you know how we get about appearances sometimes. We don't want the whole world to know that we're falling apart or our business. And I won't say that I was falling apart. At that point in time, it seemed like I had come through the worst of it, and I was just transitioning. And like I said, I had my air mattress. I didn't have a television or anything like that. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have Wi Fi. I didn't have cable. I didn't have any of that. But what I had in abundance was peace. And let me tell you something, when you have peace, nothing compares to that. Nothing compares. So I had peace of mind. And that was the first thing. That was the first step. The second step after that was coming to the realization that I had to get a new vision for my life. I had to come up with a new vision for my life because everything that I did, was so wrapped up in, what I was doing as a spouse, everything like church and just everything that we were doing at that time. And now I had to get a new vision for my life because I hadn't planned on a future without that person. And the hardest time for me, I remember, was at night. It seemed like at nighttime was when I realized just how alone I was. Now, at that point in time, because I left the residence, um, it was better because I was transitioning for my children to stay there with their father because he still was a good father. He still, was responsible and stuff when it came to them. He still looked out for them and took care of them. So there was no need for me to move them from where they were. And sorry, my cord was coming loose and I needed to fix that. But it was a huge transition. And I had to get to the point where I could, know that I was stable where I was before my children could come and stay with me. And eventually that is what happened. But I had to get a new vision for my life. And the first time I realized that, I was in a training and we were doing vision boards, and I literally just started crying. because I was like, I never thought I was going to have to do this. I wasn't prepared for that. I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't dreamed about it. And before I could even come up with a new vision for my life, I had to find out who Tasha was. Is just Tasha. So you may be in a place where you have to figure out who you are and what it is that you want and what it is that makes you happy. So that place, it may feel unfamiliar, but it's a good place. It's a good place to be. So I just want to leave you with that thought today. Number one, find your peace and appreciate it. Number two, get the necessities, the things that you need. Don't be in a hurry to try to do this and do that. Start with the most basic things. Start, crawling before you can walk and run, okay? And then the other thing is realize that you have to come up with another vision for your life, and you're going to have to do the work, and you're going to have to get to know who you are by yourself as a single person. So these are just some tips that I want to leave with you. This is a conversation, with us, and please feel free to ask questions or, chime in. Maybe there is something that you can add, but I'm just trying to take little baby steps here to get us on to moving forward. And yeah, so pretty much. I thank you for coming and joining me. I welcome you here to Happy Life, Better Life. And again, don't forget to subscribe and please give me your comments. I mean, I know that everything I'm doing it's not professional. It's not, perfected. I'm just doing it because honestly, that's pretty much what people have been saying to me. Tasha, just do it. Don't worry about perfecting it. At least when you get up the road and everything's perfected and you have your thumbnails and you have your music and everything's great, you'll look back and say, wow, look how far I came. So I want to thank you for joining me in these beginning stages and starting over with me and all of this wonderfulness. So again, I thank you. I welcome you. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can receive notifications for when part 3 is coming out, because this was part 2 today. Have a great day. Be blessed. Bye-bye.